What's good? What's good, man? Gotta drink your water. Hold up. Turn this off. Cool. All right, and I'm back one more time. I had a little mishap last night. Didn't realize that I was recording with no audio. So, got to do it one more time, one more again. The one more again. Sips coffee. That's pretty good. I mean, I did that. I did that. All right. All right. But before we get going, like we always do with this time. All right, there's another song. But if you want to do a podcast like what you're watching, photo shoot, music video, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fit Boxer. And if you're looking for a jitterless, clean feeling, no crash energy drink, go on dubby.com, w.com. Use promo code JUKE for 20% off. And then make sure you go like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Right, hovering around 50 right now. So we need your help. Make sure you go like, subscribe, comment, share on all of the socials, like the He Say, She Say channel on Facebook. Subscribe at Media or Joint Universal Creatives. And then follow us at Juke Sports Show on Instagram. You can follow me at KYNGRALPH at TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, at an underscore for X or Twitter. And let's just jump straight into it. We did it. I talked about it yesterday, but man, this is frustrating. But when you're the only one doing everything, sometimes it's hard to have like a checks and balances between the two. But like I said, Andy Dalton and the Panthers put a whooping on my Raiders. Not happy about that part. But does this validate the switch? And I believe it 100% does. Bryce, and a lot of things when it comes down to it, like there's a situation right now going on with the Raiders, not the Raiders, but UNLV quarterback, where I don't feel like he's putting up the numbers, but he's not being the reason why we're losing the game. Justin Fields not being the reason why you lose a game. And Bryce Young, as you get better as a quarterback and get your feet wet, you're not being asked to go win games rather than you're being asked to not be the reason why we're losing. And so Andy Dalton comes in, balls out, 26 of 37, 319 touchdowns, 86.9 QBR, hell of a game. And it just comes to show, like, when you have a veteran who may or may not have the best arm, be the most athletic, but can read defenses, pick them apart, pick apart zones, and get the ball to your playmakers, it shows that you can go a long way. And I feel like the Dog did that, had a hell of a game, and the Raiders just didn't. The defense is not the problem, and I'll talk about this later on. Defense is not the problem. I feel like the defense is doing what it's supposed to do. It's holding teams to a certain amount of points in the first half, first three quarters. And then they start to get tired. And at some point when you're on the field for half the game or a little bit more than half the game, what more could you ask a defense to do? So I feel like in the end, the Panthers came to play. The Raiders did not. Antonio Pierce calls out his team and see what happens going forward. Hold on, let me get rid of these AirPods. All right. And so next up, talking about coaches, I feel like a lot of coaches don't necessarily, especially when it comes to football. I feel like in the NBA, yes, coaching matters. Some of the better coaches will put you in certain positions. But when you have a superstar, two superstars on your team, you can affect more of the game just from an individual player standpoint. And so when it comes to coaching, there's been certain instances where a player will look terrible in one system and look comparable in another system. Justin Fields is a perfect example. Malik Willis is a perfect example. Sam Darnold is a perfect example. So I want to give praise and shout out to good coaching because Kevin O'Connell, what he's been able to do for Sam Darnold, what he's been able to do with Sam Darnold, I feel like is nothing short of phenomenal. I feel like Sam Darnold he's in the MVP conversation for that reason. Malik Willis, Matt LaFleur, what he's been able to do with him. I feel like when you get a coach who understands your talent, and the one thing I've always said is I get it when you have a system, but I hate when coaches try to put like a square peg in a circular hole because like Malik Willis, for instance, for a perfect example, is not the same quarterback that Jordan Love is, but at the same time, Matt LaFleur is building a game plan that's built and setting up a system that's built around Malik Willis and what he does well. And too often we get coaches who will draft a player, expect them to be like this, where you can't have the same offense for Cam Newton and Peyton Manning. You can't coach them the same way. You can't train them the same way because they have different sets of skills. Nothing wrong. I feel like, too, for so long, we were so used to having this type of quarterback that when we get something that is not of that ilk or not of that norm, they don't know what to do with it or do with it or how to deal with it. And so I do feel like in coaches that are good coaches, good quality coaches, Mike Tomlin, for example, what he's been able to do for 20 years of never having a losing record, regardless if he's been able to win the big game more than once or playoff success, just having a winning record for that long with plugging and playing at different players at different positions for that amount of time, you can't sell that short. You can't take away the credit from him. And you got to give praise to these coaches that are out here doing the damn thing. Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, Arthur Smith. I know we've talked about him, whether or not he's a good OC. Cliff Kingsbury and what he's been able to do with Jaden Daniels is another example as well. And so I do personally feel like when you have these coaches that are getting the most and squeezing the most juice out of the orange, you can say, I feel like at the end of the day, those coaches can go a long way. I'm wishing that we had Cliff Kingsbury as our OC instead of Luke Getsy, who's one person who, to me, has shown that he's not a comparable OC. Now, position coach, maybe we need to have more of that conversation. But when it comes to Luke Getsy, but offensive coordinator, he's just not that guy. You're just not that guy. And so there's a couple different teams. There's 5 teams that are 3-0 right now. I'm going to go through the best 3-0 team and the worst 3-0 team. And so Buffalo Bills, Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City Chiefs, Minnesota Vikings, Seattle Seahawks are all 3-0, excuse me. And so right now, playing the best football from quarterback all the way through, you got to give it to the Buffalo Bills. Losing Stephon Diggs, I believe, has created some freedom when it comes to Josh Allen that we haven't yet seen. Now, it's not to say that maybe are they a better team without Stephon Diggs? Probably not. But when you have someone that is that good, it's kind of hard to not want to force the ball in or throw passes to them and give them more opportunities, where when you have a bunch of guys that are right on the same playing field, being able to just throw the ball to whoever is the person that's the open man or has the best matchup in that moment is one of those things where I feel like Josh Allen is able to play with a certain amount of freedom that we haven't been able to see him play with. And he actually has a good offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, who is getting them in good positions. He's running the football, like I've been saying for a couple years. I get it. This is a passing league, but if you're just look at the Dallas Cowboys. If you have to throw the ball 50 times a game, it's just not a good look when it comes to keeping the defense off balance. If I know you can't run the ball, I'm just going to sit there and be able to have my edge rushers putting their ears back and go get the quarterback. See ball, get ball. And so I do feel like when it comes to certain teams, and you got to be able to run the ball. As good as Josh Allen's arm talent is, being able to James Cook, use him to the best of your ability is can be understated. I feel like that with Joe Brady's doing a heck of a job with the Buffalo Bills in that run game, giving Josh Allen someone to be able to hand the ball off to, get the ball to in screens, string passes, and as well as be able to work the ball down the field. And so in the end, no Keon Coleman in the first quarter, still throws the ball for almost 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, ends up with 4 touchdowns. I have him as my fantasy football quarterback, and he's a hell of a job. Hey, 3-0 in that league. And so some teams I do want to give some credit to, but at the same time, I do got to pick a worst 3-0 team. Right now, Chiefs, it sounds crazy. Patrick Mahomes is not playing his best football right now. He's missing some throws, playing a little sloppy, but they're still 3-0. That I think they're in their era right now where they're trying to find those pieces on the offensive side, but that defense is playing lights out. Lights out. Kansas City Chiefs defense, as good as that offense has been over the past couple of years, the last 2 years, that defense has been a top 10 defense. And not just in the playoffs, but just go look at what they do from a turnover standpoint, point differential, getting after the quarterback, yards producing, points allowed. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is phenomenal. But I got to pick one, and I believe it might be Donald. I think that Seahawks defense is going to be legit for some time. Brian Flores is dialing it up with the Vikings. The Steelers are literally first through third in every major statistical category. So if I had to pick one, I'm going to have to go with the Vikings because I believe in Justin Fields as an individual talent more than I believe in Sam Darnold. Now, Geno Smith, he's not a top 10 quarterback, but I do feel like at this point in his career, you know what you're getting from him. And I feel like he can lead a team to the playoffs. So when it comes to best through worst, I'm going to go with the Vikings as the worst of the 3-0 teams of the 5 3-0 teams. So you're really just sitting here, you're nitpicking at some point. But I trust the Steelers defense. I trust the Seahawks defense more than I trust the Vikings defense from an individual talent standpoint. And so that's why I'm going to go with the Vikings as the worst 3-0 team. But shout out to all of them. Heck of a coaching job. Arthur Smith is doing a heck of a coaching job. I forget who their defensive coordinator is over there, but doing the damn thing too with the Steelers. Brian Flores and what he's been able to do blitzing. He blitzes the most in the NFL, but these exotic blitzes to where you'll say and drop a defensive end into the secondary, or switching and zone blitzing, which is something that the still famous for years. And so I do feel like, and he comes from that tree as well. So I do feel like he's learned his lesson. We got the Bills with 3-0, the best 3-0 team. We got the Vikings with the worst 3-0 team. But we'll see what happens. This is all predictions at the end of the day. There's no exact science to this. And so I am a little mad with this one because I am re-recording. Like I said, I recorded last night, but I checked. When you're the person recording, coming up with topics, posting clips, some things don't necessarily go the right way. I recorded 30 minutes of no audio last night. So I do apologize if you watched the show. I do appreciate you. At one point, I did have one of the most viewers at one time that I've ever had on the show. So it was a little interesting. I wish somebody would have told me that was watching. So if you're watching, I do need your engagement. Please comment, send topics that you would like. But also this one right here. So some of these I've already talked about. Some of these they've already wrapped up. So Atlanta Dream falls short to the New York Liberty. In the end, I feel like the Atlanta Dream are a quality basketball team, but they just right now don't have a star in their prime. You have Jonquel Jones, Stewie, and Sabrina, and you're going up against a team that has those three, and you don't even have one person that can match up with their best player. Just put in a position where it's an uphill battle at some point. And so as good as they are and can be going forward in the future, they do have some really young pieces. I just don't see them as a legit contender. And that's why, in the end, I had the Liberty winning anyway, but they wrapped it up last night. And so the Connecticut Sun hosts the Fever. And I think they play tonight, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's look. Yeah, they play tonight, game 2. If the Connecticut Sun win, they send Fever home. And in the end, regardless of who wins tonight, I do believe the Sun do close it out tonight, but I do believe that the Fever are good for the future. Yes, they overachieved a little bit this year. And from the standpoint of being in this playoffs, they had the number 1 pick last year, number 1 pick this year. So this year, them getting to the playoffs, it's just one of those things where in the W, like if you go back and look at the Aces, they got Kelsey Plum when they were still in Seattle. They moved to Las Vegas, not Seattle, but San Antonio. They moved to Las Vegas. They get Asia Wilson. After that, they get Jackie Young with a number 1 pick as well. So you can build a legit contender, but you just got to hit on all of those spots. And so Aaliyah Boston, phenomenal. Caitlin Clark, face of the league, and you already have Kelsey Mitchell, who is someone who's already been an all-star, as your 3-headed monster. So I think they're good for the future, but right now in this series, Alyssa Thomas, Bonner, and Carrington, they're just too much right now for them. And I feel like they're in their primes, they're too physical, high IQ in their primes. And in the end, I just don't think that the Fever can match up with that when it comes down to it. And so I expect to see a Sun, Liberty, Eastern Conference, and I would be surprised to see anything otherwise. And so Phoenix will be going up against the Minnesota Lynx. I got the Lynx, man. I know Nafisa might have put her foot in her mouth in the end when it comes to talking bad about Diana Taurasi and wanting to send her home from her retirement tour. But I just feel like right now that team just past their prime. Brittany Griner, Taurasi are just past their prime. Very good, have done a lot of good things in the league. But it's this right now, Caleb McBride, Nafisa Collier, it's their time right now. And so for that, I got the Minnesota Lynx make work of the Phoenix Mercury the same way I had the Aces making work of the Storm. I said it yesterday. They were up at the time by like 2 points, but I said the Aces would close it out. I feel like the Storm are a good basketball team where if they can play for another year together, I would feel more comfortable with picking them as a legit contender because I think Ezzy Magmagor is hurt. Then you have Skylar Diggins, Gabby Williams, and Anika. I feel like those 4, you put them up against any 4, you got a squad. But with people being hurt and people joining in the middle of the season, I just don't feel like they're playing their best brand of basketball at this point in time. And that's why I had the Aces in the end. I feel like Asia is clearing above the best basketball player, female basketball player on the planet right now. And then even Kelsey Plum has started playing better defense, and she played well in these first two games. And her and Asia go off for almost 60 points between the two of them. And so when you're getting that kind of basketball, it's just hard to get those wins. So in the end, I got Aces versus the Lynx in the Western Conference. I got the Liberty versus the Connecticut Sun in the Eastern Conference, and we'll see what happens next. And so going off top, I mentioned it earlier. I might have even I hinted at it earlier as well. But as a Raider fan, this one hurts. Because it's time, bro. It's time for a QB change, bro. Like, I get it. We may or may not believe in Aiden O'Connell. He was a 5th, 6th round draft pick for a reason. I completely understand. But at some point, and with these players on the offense already, give him a shot, bro, because Gardner Minshew is not getting it done, bro. It just is what it is. And I feel like right now that defense plays so good that you need some kind of spark or change in order for us to be able to keep them engaged. Because if I go out there and I limit to a team to 10 points every half, but then my offense is just only scoring 1 touchdown in that first half, at some point I'm going to get tired. I'm not going to be as engaged. And we can't expect everybody to have a motor like Max Crosby. Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins are playing phenomenal football on that front seven. But to some degree, at some point, it can't just be just them. In order for us to get a win, it's a team sport. The offense got to be able to pick it up. And I just don't feel like Gardner Minshew is getting it done right now. I feel like we need a switch. I honestly feel like we need to get rid of Luke Getsy at this point, where we can't keep wasting Devontae Adams' good years. And so he doesn't have an offense that puts the ball down the field. His route concepts don't make sense. And I just don't like it. So get rid of him, bench Gardner Minshew, and let's see what happens with Aiden O'Connell and whoever we would bring in as an OC. And so Anthony Joshua, but it was looking crazy out there. It was I don't know if it was he was breakdancing, if it was a new sleep position, or what, but he gets slumped by Dubois. And we've been hearing for years about this Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight. And I think it's time to let it go, bro. Like, that ship had sailed. Now, in the end, if the fight was to happen, would I watch it? Yes, I would watch it. Would I pay for it like I would have at one point? Probably not. At this point, it's just no. It's just a no. Both of them being knocked out in their last fights by lesser opponents. It's just one of those things where that ship has sailed, bro. Like, we should have got that fight 3 years ago, 2 years ago. But Wilder and Joshua, that shit has sailed, bro. And it's like I can't condone it. Can't get behind it. But like I said, I would watch it. I'm just not paying for it. I'll go over to the homie's house or to a bar that was free to get in. But I'm not paying that money for that fight. And I feel like that it's over with. They both need to start working and looking at retirement. Maybe this is their last big draw, and then they take that money and skedaddle right off into the sunset. And so next up, we got to stop with the Caitlin Clark shit, yo. Like, at some point, I get it. She's the face of the league. I completely understand. But to what degree are we doing her a disservice? Like, we can't talk about the NBA. It's not physical enough. But then anytime anything happens where someone breathes hard on Caitlin Clark, we sitting there talking about how they hating on her, they don't like her. And it's like, oh, you need to be more appreciative of the view she's bringing you. And it's like, all right, bro, like, relax, calm down. This shit is not that deep. It ain't that deep. She gets poked in the eye. All right, things happen. I've been poked in the eye. Do I think the person did it on purpose? Do I feel like old girl did it on purpose? No, I do not. Like, I've seen way worse black eyes than Caitlin Clark's, and I completely understand. She's bringing viewership. She's the face of the league. She's not the best player in the league. Get that confused. Those are two different things. But at the same time, Caitlin Clark pushes off. I've seen her swing the block, hit a girl in the face, and we don't talk about it nearly as much as if she was the one going up for the layup and someone hits her in the head. And that's the thing for me that I don't like. If you're going to do it, be consistent on both sides. But don't play hard or let's be gentle with this person. When she does stuff, we're just like turn a blind eye to it. And that's the part for me that I can't. I can't condone that. And that's where I'm just like, yeah, at some point, I keep it a buck and stay true to the game. Keep the integrity of the game right. Because I am happy for a lot of the growth that the W is getting. I had a cousin of mine that played basketball at LSU, and I'm going to try to get her on the pod in the next couple weeks as the W season is wrapping up. But my love for women's basketball went before that, but I actually got a real appreciation for playing with her and training with her at one point when we were in high school. And these girls can hoop, so now they're finally getting their just due, their viewership. Yes, Caitlin Clark has brought viewership, but Angel Reese brought viewership. Cameron Brink brought viewership. Camila Cardozo brought viewership. But Asia Wilson and the rest of the girls from the league, to Brittany Grinders, to Kelsey Plums, Jackie Youngs, Alyssa Thomas, Stewie, and Sabrina, the league has been going upwards over the last 5-6 years. Their viewership is getting more and more. Now, it was just a matter of time before they had that boom. And Caitlin Clark is here. But in the end, bro, once Juju get here, it's a wrap, bro. It's a wrap for all of that. The Messiah is coming in 2 years. Once Juju gets here, this is some shit we ain't never seen before. Someone who's 6'2". She's the size of Angel Reese, but has the skill set of Caitlin Clark. And that's the part where it's going to be scary hours coming soon. And so I don't yet have this one as a topic. I didn't actually write this one in. But there were some sensitive comments or insensitive comments that were made on Andrew Schultz's podcast. He had the guys, Fuhad and James, on from Shits and Gigs. And he made some comments about Black women. And they were talking about the women experience. For a perfect example, Travis Kelce. If you go and you look at Travis Kelce when he was with his black, he was dating a black woman, his ex-girlfriend, she was black. So then he had a fade, a beard, looked tapered up and all of that. He starts dating Taylor Swift. Now he looked like a traffic cop. And so a state trooper, for instance. He got the 70s porn stash, the wild hair, and it's just a completely different look. He goes from there to start making comments about women, and it's a defense mechanism because Black women are so violent and whatnot. And so these are things for me that when you start to have a conversation, we start to make jokes about groups that we don't participate in, are not a part of, or represent. You need to tread lightly. And that's the part where I do feel like I'm all for jokes. I crack jokes. But in this day and age, yes, people are oversensitive. But there are some things and reasons and why people are sensitive. And we need to make sure that we recognize those things. When it comes to different groups, yes, as a Black man, I reckon, and I was raised by a Black woman, so I recognize things that Black women deal with on a day-to-day basis. My best friend I call her my sister, so if you ever heard me refer to my sister, really it's just my best friend who is a Black woman. So I know that the things that they deal with and have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So it's like there's a reason why they are strong, don't put up with no shit, and are going to speak their minds because of the things they have to go through. But to then make jokes about it in where it's a negative way, where you don't really have a history of dating Black women, your wife right now is not black. You aren't black to then make that joke. That's like me making jokes about the LGBT community. I don't participate in anything from their community. I don't represent their community, and I'm not a part of their community. And so I can't then make jokes about the community and then be mad if someone from that community is upset with a joke that I made. Because all jokes have a little bit of truth to them, but at some point, you can't hide how you feel behind a joke. Because I've definitely seen people make jokes, and it's like after a while, it's like, all right, bro, starting to think that this is really how you feel. It's no longer just a joke. And so just make sure if we're going to make jokes, videos, content, and whatnot, talking about certain groups of people that we aren't a part of, represent, or taking, just tread lightly. And so thank you all for watching. I do got to get up out of here. Like I mentioned before, make sure you go like the He Say, She Say channel on Facebook. Subscribe at Juke Media or Joint Universal Creators. I am in the process of making that name a little shorter so we can find it. But I am trying to get to 100 subscribers at the end of the year. We're hovering around 4852 right now. Make sure you go follow us on Juke at Juke Sports Show on Instagram. You can follow me at KYNGRALPH, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram at _for X or Twitter. And thank you all for watching. See you next time.